been a treat for the Pirates coming to San Francisco lately. They've won 5 of their last 6 games played at AT Park. The Buccos' West Coast swing continues after taking 2 of 3 from the Los Angeles Dodgers. Pirates playoff push continues. Greg Brown along with Bob Walk and Robbie Ince-Mikowski on the mound, wouldn't you know it, tonight for the Pittsburgh Pirates, former Giant Ryan Vogelsong. Bob, we didn't know what was going to happen with Vogelsong. He didn't know when he got hit in the face in May against the Colorado Rockies, had the facial fractures. He looked at the schedule. He knew that this was looming, an opportunity to pitch against his former club. He's pitched very well since coming off the disabled list in his 2 starts.
Yeah, he's really pitched outstanding in the 2 starts. You know, I was really wondering, all that time off, how good was his control going to be? You know, he doesn't throw real hard. He's not a stuff guy anymore. He's got to make his pitches out on the edges of that strike zone. That takes a little touch. That takes a little conviction to make those pitches. He's had both of those since coming off the DL after that just horrible injury.
Look at that ERA of 0.75 in his 2 starts since returning from the disabled list. For Ryan Vogelsong, he was drafted in the 5th round in 1998 by the Giants. He made his major league debut 2 years later with San Francisco, but quickly was dealt to the Pittsburgh Pirates in the summer of 2001, and he struggled. For 5 years with the Pirates, went 10-19, an ERA of 6 in 103 games. He pitched in Japan for a couple of seasons, even in the minor leagues. And then he signed with the Giants going into 2011, where he won 13 games, made the All-Star team for the first time. And lo and behold, he went to 2 World Series and pitched very well in 8 postseason games, 3-0 with an ERA of 2.92 in the postseason with San Francisco.
You know, Greg, you look at what he did in the postseason, you certainly understand why he is so loved here. I mean, he got the outs. He pitched the big games when they really needed it, and they're not going to forget that.
Well, the Pirates need him tonight, taking on a Giants club that since the All-Star break has struggled, but it is an even year, and the Giants, well, they play like Giants when it's an even year. We'll talk more coming up next. leading the National League West by just a game over the Los Angeles Dodgers. Our Volkswagen standing shows you that, and that wild card race that Rob just mentioned. The Marlins a half game back of the Cardinals for the second seed. The Pirates a game and a half back of the Redbirds for that spot. So imperative that the Pirates keep winning. Did a nice job against the Dodgers, winning 2 of 3, and now they will attack the San Francisco Giants. And the Giants just have not been the same club. They're just 9 and 18 since the All-Star break, and you can see what they've done in the 9 series since the Midsummer Classic, winning only 1.
Yeah, there really isn't much they're doing right of late. They can play better in all aspects of the game and help themselves. And one of the things that they've had a hard time with is the starting pitching, and so they have gone out and signed Matt Moore, trying to strengthen that. We'll get a look at him tonight.
Pirates lost 3 of 4 to the Giants when they were in Pittsburgh earlier this year. When we come back, we're going to talk about more of the same. Pirates going to see another lefty, but for the first time, the former Ray. Tuesday against the Marlins, went 6 innings, walked 5. Since joining the Giants, he's walked 11 in a dozen innings.
Yeah, the base on balls definitely jumps out at you, and you'd like to see our guys be a little patient tonight. But I can understand if they're not, if they go swinging the bats, because they really love lefties.
Yeah, they do. The Pirates have done a nice job against left-handed pitching all year long. And we take a look at some of the outstanding numbers for individual players. Josh Harrison will be leading off, is hitting .329 against lefties. Look at David Freese, the top 5 in the National League against southpaws. Pirates again 17 and 8 against left-handed starters, and they've won 7 in a row when the opponent starts a left-hander.
Hey, you can see why they might want to swing the bats. Look at those slugging percentages. A lot of numbers they're going to want to hit, but be patient.
Bucks and Giants ready to play game 1 of a 3-game series as Matt Moore makes his San Francisco home debut. Pirates took 2 of 3 in LA and ready to go against the Giants. AT Park coming up.
Sports is brought to you by Allegheny Health Network, Health for All. By Bordas & Bordas, official legal partners of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Visit bordaslaw.com. And by Day Automotive, we're going to make your day. Let's go Bucks!
Coming your way from San Francisco by the Bay, the Pirates and the Giants. AT Park. As I said, the Pirates have had success lately. Last couple years, Bucks have won 5 of 6 here. And 8 of their last 11. And Matt Moore, his debut in San Fran. One-time All-Star. Matt Moore traded over from the Rays, where he made 21 starts, was 7-7, an ERA just over 4 with Tampa Bay. This is his 3rd overall start with San Francisco. We'll get to a RAV4 Pirates starting lineup. Josh Harrison will lead things off. He'll be followed by Jordy Mercer. Career here in this ballpark is .367 in 10 games. Andrew McCutchen starting to turn it on over the last week and a half. He'll hit 3rd. David Freese, the cleanup man. Good to see Starling Marte back after those back issues had him out yesterday. Chung Ho Kang will follow, then Francisco Cervelli, Gregory Polanco, and Ryan Vogelsong.
Getting ready.
Yep, ready to go.
Getting their mind right, getting their bodies loose. Mr. Moore's numbers. ERA just a tick under 4. A lot of innings. Well, nowadays it's a lot of innings, 142.
Moore coming back from Tommy John surgery. Pitched only a couple of games in 2014, an All-Star in 2013 when he went 17-4. He will not have the veteran Buster Posey behind the plate because Buster Posey's back has tightened up on him. So it'll be Trevor Brown behind the dish, our Honda defense. Brandon Belt, Joe Panik on the right side. Brandon Crawford, Eduardo Nunez on the left side. There's another new addition. Nunez at 3rd. Angel Pagan, Denard Span, Hunter Pence in the outfield, left to right. Trevor Brown behind the plate. Buster Posey will watch at least for tonight. Was able to pinch hit yesterday, but not start the game.
Well, let's hope he takes it easy for the series.
Yeah, no need rushing. In fact, we'll go down there and tell Bruce Bochy.
Just take a while. Ease back into it.
Yep. Josh Harrison doesn't waste any time swinging away and fouling the pitch back out of play.
He's not one of the guys you think is going to be a little on the patient side. He's always looking to swing the bat.
Couple of strikes on Jay Hay, 5 for 12 on the trip. So the Giants traded their 3rd baseman Matt Duffy, who finished 2nd in Rookie of the Year voting last year, along with a couple of minor leaguers, to get Matt Moore. And a roller to 3rd. Nunez. One down. And underway here. As Josh Harrison rolls one to the 3rd baseman. Matt Moore has 3 years of team options available. Next year's contract worth $7 million. So because he is under team control.
That team control is
very important these days.
One of the most important things when you're talking about that trade. That really adds a lot to a player's value.
Born in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Matt Moore, that's about 40 miles east of Pensacola, the Panhandle. At the age of 6, moved to Okinawa, Japan. His dad was in the Air Force, spent several years there, then to New Mexico. And 2-1 on Jordy Mercer. Bruce Bochy, he knows that life. His dad was in the Army. He was born in France. And right there for Jordy Mercer. Popped up. Pagan. 2 outs. Then Hurdle talking about not seeing much since he came into the big leagues. The only time the Pirates would have seen him once or twice in spring training. This is his first regular season start against the Bucks. And another pop-up. The second baseman, Panic, will make the catch. We're going to keep it here because we understand that the folks in San Francisco are going to pay Ryan Vogelsong a special tribute on their video board. A very, as we said, an emotional moment for Vogie, who battled through so much throughout his career.
Later in the
A great ovation for Ryan Vogelsong video tribute. The public address announcer here making the announcement that Vogie had returned. Now a member once again of the Pittsburgh Pirates. And we told you those really good postseason numbers that helped the Giants win the World Series against the Tigers and Royals 2012, 2014.
He certainly got a great ovation. I mean, there wasn't a person in this ballpark, it seemed like, that stayed in their seats. Everybody up, and you could see how well loved he was. There's the Hyundai numbers for this season. But the story, I think, for Vogie is the last 2 starts, Greg, and what he's done since getting hit with that in the face with that pitch, and been so good with his control. He really has been masterful in moving the ball in and out, up and down. Giving up 6 hits in 12 innings.
11 days ago, he came back. Made his first start since that horrific accident. Hit by the pitch from Jordan Lyles and the Rockies on May 23rd. Facial fractures, underwent the surgery. Came back sooner than anybody but perhaps Vogelsong expected. And against the Braves, he went 6 innings, gave up 1 run on 3 hits, walked 1, struck out 6 11 days ago. And a first pitch strike, throwing a lot of those. Denard Span, in his first year with the Giants, hitting .259. Last time out for Vogelsong, made the start against the Padres and went 6 innings, a 3-hit ball, gave up 2 unearned runs, walked 1, and struck out 5. Look at those starts that he's had. Really can throw out the Colorado Rockies start because he went just 2 innings. And he has been excellent with the control numbers and striking out more than maybe we anticipated. We've touched on this, but in spring training, Vogelsong made 5 appearances and in just under 15 innings struck out 4. Madison Bumgarner, a big good friend of certainly of Ryan Vogelsong's.
It's practice.
Yep.
Spring training, especially for the older players. It's practice.
You want to talk about practice?
Yeah, they're not trying to strike anybody out. Trying to get ready for the season, trying to get in shape. And to judge him on what he did in Florida is kind of unfair. So you're being very unfair to him.
Vogelsong in his practice.
Practice. That's all it is.
5 games, 19 hits, 14 2/3 innings. Unfortunately, because he did not pitch as well in spring training and Juan Nicasio did, Nicasio got the starting nod in the rotation. Vogelsong began the year in the bullpen. 3-2 on span. That'll be out of play. Stays 3-2. He was 5 out of 14 in the series at PNC Park in June. Denard Span, 32-year-old, born in Washington, D.C., grew up in Tampa, Florida. Gong with the pick. And he gets Span. Nicely done.
Yeah, the ball gets by him to short. He's not going to be an easy play.
Giants starting lineup. Span, Angel Pagan is coming up. Then Brandon Belt and Brandon Crawford. Hunter Pence batting only 196 since he came off the disabled list. Joe Panik is the second baseman. Eduardo Nunez is at third base. Then Trevor Brown and Matt Moore. Pagan, a 12-game hitting streak. Longest active streak in the league. A strike called from Mike Malinsky, home plate umpire. Just fair. 13-game hitting streak for Pagan.
It looked like Utley up there. 3 games in L.A. Utley was able to hit a few of them just barely fair down that line. Oh, almost like a 3/4 swing by Pagan. He stops the bat very early. Just guided that ball. Tough right field to play here on just about anything that you're not going to catch in the air. You don't have any idea what kind of bounce you're going to get. So Polanco's going to be very, I think, conservative going after balls that are either going to bounce off the fence, hit on the fence, on a fly, whatever. You got to be careful. A lot of angles to play here.
Similar to PNC Park.
Similar. I think even much more though. So
be more conservative.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
comes off that brick, that thing will go flying.
And there's so many different angles.
Yeah.
You know, the way the fence is angled, and then it comes back, it kind of straight away right behind you. It moves back and then angles out again, going out to that 421 mark. It's really an odd. And then, of course, you got down there by the bullpens, the angle where we just saw that ball hit off of and kind of bounce right out into the middle of the field.
Might have broken his bat on the play and drops in front of Polanco.
Polanco decided early on he wasn't going to catch that, so he just played back to take it on a hop. playing this one conservatively here in the first inning.
Pagan watching.
He can't run. He's got to wait, because I mean, that, whether that ball was caught or not was really up in the air until the last second.
So it's first and third for Brandon Crawford. Soft contact against Vogelsong. Starting with a ground ball by Span, the Pagan double just inside the bag, and the broken bat single by Belt. Two and 0. Brandon Crawford with 11 home runs and had a big series down in Miami recently. A 7-hit game for him. First 7-hit game by a major league player since Rennie Stennett. But since then, 3 for his last 20. It was last Monday when he recorded that Giants franchise record 7-hit game. Two and 1 on Crawford. He's hit into 9 double plays. Buster Posey's hit into a dozen to lead the team.
That's exactly what Vogelsong's thinking right now. What do I throw to get a ground ball? Even here with a 3-1 count, he's still going to be thinking about that. I guess what you would like to have happen here with Vogelsong is a little two-seam sinker down and away, but good enough to where you'll get Crawford to think he can hit it hard, and he'll try to pull it, and maybe that little roll over the wrist ground ball to Jay. Looks like they're setting up on the corner. That's where he's going to try and throw it. Now that was the pitch, but he left it up a little bit, and it was a little too far outside at the same time.
So loaded for Pence. Tyler Pence with just 6 hits in his last 40 at bats. Missed almost 50 games with a right hamstring strain. Came off the DL very end of July. Pence has hit into 6 double plays. Tougher to double up. Another broken bat. Slayer to the third baseman, Gong, for the second out.
Now that'll work. Any way to keep the ball out of the outfield, either a base hit or a fly. Almost a pop-up. Hit so softly.
Another left-handed hitter in the lineup, the second baseman Joe Panik. Base is still loaded. Panik has a little 4-game hitting streak going. 6 for his last 13. Pagan now has a 13-game hitting streak. That double, he moved to third on the base hit by Brandon Belt, who went to second after Crawford walked. Joe Panik spent some time on the disabled list. He was hit in the head by a pitch thrown by Matt Moore when the Giants played the Rays earlier in June down in Tampa Bay. And he missed 23 games with concussion-like symptoms. Vogelsong trying to figure it out here, what to throw. Panic down on the count, 2-0. A lot of years pitching for the Giants. And now he's going to have to try and come back all the way back, 3-0.
Now, the first 2 starts, he's had a really good control, being able to just hit spots. Not so good at this point of the game. It's just the first inning. He can definitely get that feel back, but right now he's not able to hit the edges like he was earlier. That was a nice one there. See, that's where he needs to stay, all around the sides of that strike zone.
Nothing, San Francisco.
I think he overthrew that one a little bit, humped up on it, had 91 on the velocity, but because he humped up, he just threw it straight into the ground. I think it might have bounced right on top of home plate.
Ray Searage out now. And settle down, Ryan Vogelsong, making his first start against the Giants since August 12, 2004. The last time he appeared against his former club was May 1st, 2005 in relief. Both of those appearances coming at PNC Park. Buster Posey having some laughs with his Giants teammates. Now Eduardo Nunez faces Vogelsong with the bases still loaded and 2 outs. Give Panic the RBI, his 40th of the year. Pagan scores. And Nunez a tough little play here. Scooped, Gong throws and gets in a nicely done play by Jung Ho Kang. 5-3 on the putout. Giants get 1.
Gives up a run in the first inning after he gets a video tribute upon taking to the mound. I'm Robbie Mikowski. You know the story of Ryan Vogelsong and what he meant to this team. Well, I asked one of his best friends here in San Francisco, fellow rotation mate, Matt Cain, what he means to this franchise.
He just brought, a different level of leadership. You know, just the way that he went about his business, and you know, on the field, off the field, just a good guy to be around, and you know, a great role model for everybody to look up to.
It was clear there were a lot of local media stations in the Giants clubhouse before the game, Greg, and the only thing they wanted to talk about was Ryan Vogelsong and get the guys to talk about what a teammate he was. And once you got guys started on it, they did not want to stop. Clearly, a large impact Ryan Vogelsong had here, not only in the clubhouse and the field, but also in the San Francisco community.
Really an inspirational story. Vogelsong, as David Freese fouls that pitch back. So he held it together, allowing the 1 run, not happy with himself.
Yeah, that certainly was a situation where things could have got away early on him, and he worked through it. Now it's over with, and 1 run is no big deal.
David Freese, 2 out of 9 on this road trip, and he was 2 for 9 against the Giants in Pittsburgh back in June. Baseball fan caught that foul ball.
Likes both leagues.
First strikeout for Moore. We're gonna get to our Rivers Casino tips to win.
We can see the bottom one there. More walks. Well, we want to see some base on balls. That's not working out so far. But Marte's back. Hopefully that thing is fine now. That was a little bit of a scary deal to see him leave the game because of a sore back. And get the wind blowing out tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a home run. And we can all have a little party.
Well, Moore gave up 20 in his 21 starts with Tampa Bay. Fly ball to center, Span.
Didn't quite get that one. Underneath it just a little bit.
Marte with 7 homers on the year, flies to center. 2 up and 2 down for Moore. We mentioned that in his 2 starts with San Francisco, Moore allowed 4 earned runs, 6 hits in 12 innings, and going back to his last start with the Rays, coming into this game, 15 walks in 18 2/3 innings, which averages out to 7+ walks per 9 in his first 20 starts of the year, just 2.6 walks per 9.
Here early on, showing pretty good command of that breaking ball. Getting that pitch over when he wants to, get some chases down on it when he would like. Fastballs, he's been working a lot of those up above the belt.
Well, look at this. It's going to stop, but that was close.
That would have been embarrassing.
Very. Jung Ho Kang assumed that was a foul ball from the get-go, but it started to roll back, and he just stood there.
Yeah, once it came off the grass, it's coming back.
Boy.
So Belt doing what he should have, just stand there and watch it and give it a chance to see if it'd make it. As soon as if Jung Ho starts to run, they got to pick it up right away. They can't take a chance. Maybe not so much along the first base line. They could have waited a little bit. But absolutely, if a third baseman is doing that, you got to take off so he'll touch the ball in foul territory in a hurry. You see that happen this year once, where a ball that had a lot of spin on it, where it came back in the fair territory somewhere.
You mean for the Pirates?
Yeah, yeah. There was a ball that somewhere had crazy spin and came back in one of our games, like maybe a month or so ago. I think foul.
Yep.
I think whoever it was running it. It ended up not being a big deal, but it was kind of weird the way it was one of those cue shots off the end.
Started
if I
to spin
remember
back.
right. Yeah. It was either went way fair and bit and went foul, or the other way. I don't remember now. Which
One
it was.
recently happened where it had the crazy spin. It happened to, I think, the same player, same at bat.
Yeah, that's what I was talking
okay.
about. The same thing,
Yeah,
but I don't
yeah.
remember what the result was.
I don't either. Foul balls, as I recall.
Well, now this one right here, there's a good jinx by me, talking about the good command of the breaking ball there. Ball 4 on a curveball. Got him.
On base percentage, our Barrel Automotive League leaders. Take a look at that figure. Francisco Cervelli tops
Hello.
among all catchers, and
Always very polite,
Yeah.
isn't he? Little tip of the hat to the pitcher, kind of like touching gloves before a prize fight.
6-game hitting streak for Cervelli. 5 for 9 in the series against the Dodgers. Buster Posey appreciates that respect. Talking there with Jake Peavy. Cervelli, a couple of hits in yesterday's win. He was on base 4 times on Saturday.
Not a good swing here. You can tell Cervelli fooled by it. Doesn't take long to really get a handle on a style of pitching, and right away here early on you can see Moore is one of those lefties, not a super hard thrower, but likes to throw the ball upstairs, and it's got that little hook. It's like turn the clock back for me watching somebody like, say, Tom Browning or Jim DeShays, guy like that pitching. Sid Fernandez. And I think that's what you need to do when you're going against a guy that you haven't seen. Who's he like in the league that you do see? When somebody new comes over. Because everybody is similar to someone.
Pitching coach Dave Righetti.
Pretty darn good left-hander in his day.
Three and two.
Ball's outside.
Again, Mike Malinsky behind the plate. Marty Foster at first, Doug Eddings at second, and the crew chief is Mike Winters over at third. Well, back-to-back walks. Moore retired the first 5 Pirates. A ground ball, 3 pop-ups, and a strikeout, but he walks Gong on the 3-2 pitch. Cervelli, same thing, and now Gregory Polanco.
Looked like Cervelli was talking to Polanco as he was taking off some of his equipment there before he dropped the bat.
What do you think he was saying?
Well, I don't know.
A quick scouting report?
Probably something really quick in Spanish that nobody can understand right there what he's saying. It had to be a scouting report. Something to look for, be careful with. Maybe he likes to work the fastball up. So now they're going to counteract that scouting report with one of their own.
Right.
See that?
Because
you
Trevor Brown
yeah.
is fluent in Spanish.
Yeah.
I heard that.
No, he went to Hard High. He probably didn't speak very well. Yeah, you can't, when they do a scouting report, you got to do one too. It's just, can't let that go.
Lefty's hitting .238 against Matt Moore this season. Right-handers .244, so even splits. Ball 1. Polanco did not start yesterday's game. was going to get the entire day off, but he ended up having to pinch run in the 9th inning for Sean Rodriguez. A little tight hamstring forced Rodriguez from the game late. Oh, just foul line, and good quick reaction from Nick Leyva.
I think as a first base coach, you want to play as deep as you can when Polanco's up there. Look out, Nick. That ball's hooking right at you.
Nick Leyva avoids it. Mark Madden, the
ball dude
down right field line, misplays it. Meanwhile, Rick Sofield on the other side.
Oh, he's not in the line of fire. He's going to have to look. Oh, that one bounced around a lot in the stands. Hit about 4 things. There's the ball dude down the left field line.
Casillas and Mark Madden are the ball dudes.
Mark Madden's a drywall contractor, 59 years old. Still plays in a men's league.
Toward left center and over to make the catch, Pagan. Pirates lead the couple, trail by 1. Cisco. And on the right there is Nicole Vogelsong talking to some of the other Giants' wives. Point Park University tweets talking about Ryan Vogelsong's night, and Giants and their fans paying tribute to the one-time Giant. 39-year-old Ryan Vogelsong faces Trevor Brown.
Kind of remind me when AJ came back. Remember? Signed with the Phillies at first game back. Nice ovation.
So here's a Hart High School guy, huh?
They're all over, right? Sprinkled all over every major sport.
Now, this is the first I've heard about this high school. Tell me about it.
Every major sport in the country.
Tell me about Hart High School, Bob. I guess you went there.
Every major industry.
Yeah.
High political offices.
Where is Hart High School?
I don't know.
Whoops. Well, Rick Sofield now has to pay attention.
I guess there is no safe spot, is there? They've tried to make the dugouts very safe nowadays with the fences, but one will still sneak through.
Vogelsong goes full on Trevor Brown. Leadoff walk. Third walk for Vogelsong. Well, Hart High School, Trevor Brown, Bob Walk. Who else? How about Tyler Glass now? Allegheny Health Network injury update. Last night he made a rehab start for AA Altoona, but ended up leaving after just 3 innings. Manager Joey Cora and the trainers thought he looked a little uncomfortable on the mound. Started shaking his arm in between pitches. Glass now did not meet with reporters after the game. Today was in Pittsburgh to be evaluated by team doctors. And bunted by the pitcher, Matt Moore. Looks like he has been doing that his entire career, the American League pitcher.
Did it absolutely perfectly, you're right. Got it down the first base side. And you're bunting the guy to second, what you want to do.
Matt Moore gets the sacrifice bunt down, his second already. Pleases his manager. They took that ball out of play, and that's going to be for safekeeping his first sacrifice bunt at AT&T Park. What a moment. Denard Span.
You know, I kept a few balls. I forgot that one.
You didn't get that one?
I didn't get my first sack bunt.
First sack bunt at the Veteran Stadium.
I don't know where it was,
Yeah.
but I wish I would have had that ball.
Span grounded out in the first. Span has driven in 38 runs his first year with San Francisco.
You know, the way he stands up there, Greg, kind of like his upper body is facing totally away, and the way his feet are, doesn't look like he's already walking back to the dugout after a strikeout.
Yeah.
It's odd to choose that stance. Like, this is the way I'm going to look as I walk to the dugout. Watch now. And you can just picture him. There, look, see how his upper body's turned?
Yep.
That's exactly what he's going to look like if he has to walk back.
Might find out pretty soon. Although Span historically, and this year no different, one of the toughest batters in the league to strike out. Joe Panik, in fact, his teammate of the Giants, is the toughest to fan, but Denard Span, only 7 others in the National League are tougher to K.
But maybe that's why he does it, to show everybody what it looked like if he ever did strike out. Because it's so tough. What do you think?
Yeah, that's probably
it. Huh?
Yeah, there's Joe Panik talking about tough guy to strike out. Still 2-2 on Span.
Well, the thing is going to be an issue here pretty soon is the pitch count. A long first inning, and now he's at 36 pitches here in the second inning with 1 out.
And talking to himself.
Yeah, he's gone back behind.
Is he okay?
He's
Bob?
gone.
I'm not sure he's all right.
He's gone behind the mound.
Oh, Cervelli. Cervelli's got an issue here.
Cervelli. I was going to say Vogelsong's gone behind the mound several times tonight.
Yeah.
Like he's getting his thoughts and looking around the ballpark. And
I think this is one time where he's anxious to get back up on the rubber, Vogelsong. He will now as Todd Tomczyk out to take care of whatever issue that was, Cervelli's eye.
Good job, Todd.
Tip of the cap. Hugging the line, but just before it gets to the bag, it checks foul. I congratulate new parents, Natalie and Denny Urban. Owen Anthony was born yesterday, 8 pounds, 13 ounces. New Bucko fan, Owen Anthony Urban, congrats. And a shout out to, I know there are a lot of folks from Western PA here tonight, but in particular Jack Robinson, his wife Lisa from Hickory, PA. Two and two. Soft base hit. Marte comes up firing and about a 4-hopper and an out call. What a play by Cervelli. Cervelli diving to apply the tag on Trevor Brown.
Oh, outstanding play by Cervelli.
Looked to be impossible as that throw was bouncing in.
As he came around, as Brown came around third, I thought, okay, they got a shot at him, but then the throw you could see was going to be offline, and it's not going to work, but Cervelli made it work.
What a play by Cervelli. Huh. Marte will get the assist, but he'll give a high five to the catcher. And a nice call there by the home plate umpire, Mike Malinsky. 14 assists now for Starling Marte.
The umpires should get something for when they make a call on a close play.
Yeah.
It's not reviewed.
Yeah. How about a decal of headsets? Just a little one of the stickers,
yeah,
like the Star Stars. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd go for that.
Buster Posey, call it the Buster Posey rule. We haven't seen many teams this year, at least from the Pirates, have been playing, challenge that call. Plate blocking rule. Implemented shortly after Posey was lost for the season a handful of years ago. And former catcher there, Bruce Bochy.
Yeah, for first put that rule in, man, it was getting used constantly.
And that's a foul ball. Nifty play by Freese, but foul. Great play at the plate. Nabs Trevor Brown, robbing Span of an RBI.
You know, through all that, you know, the great tag and all that, I just now realized, why is Span at first base?
Very good question. Bouncing ball and a nice little play there by Harrison to get to it, and Mercer
showing that good range.
only 1-0 as Ryan Vogelsong has kept it together. The bases loaded walk to Joe Panik in the first. A leadoff walk to Trevor Brown in the bottom of the second. After the sacrifice bunt, Denard Span's base hit to left. Starling Marte, a couple of hops to Francisco Cervelli, made the diving tag of the runner.
Batting ninth, the pitcher, number 14, Ryan Vogelsong.
Ryan Vogelsong. Oh for 3 at the plate this season. Of course, hit by that Jordan Lyles pitch back in May.
Well, with a healthy rip. Wanting to hit one in the bay.
One career home run, that was last year, of Chris Russin, and he goes down quickly. Top of the order, Josh Harrison. Pirates are back home Friday, and then on Saturday, game 2 of their 3-game series against the Marlins. It's a fireworks night presented by Levin Furniture. Great Zambelli fireworks show, light up the sky. Head to the North Shore early for the Saturday night block party featuring the Light and Kugel Bar on Federal Street, and then the Zambelli fireworks. Pirates.com for tickets. The showdown with the Fish. The Miami Marlins, who beat the Reds 6-3. So right now they are in a virtual tie for one of those 2 wild card positions with the Cardinals. Pirates need a win to stay a game and a half back. Here's Crawford. Strikeout, ground out to begin this 3rd inning against Matt Moore, who's making his AT&T Park debut.
He has been tough when he's not walking people. Pirates still looking for their first hit of the night.
And
nope, not
almost
yet. Close. Well, Mercer's a good candidate to pick up that first hit tonight with the ways he's hit lefties.
Fly to left his first time up. Lays off the pitch in the dirt.
Good hook there. That one looked like it had a real sharp bite to it. Tough one to lay off. Watch this one go down. Ooh. Roll off the table curveball there.
And another fly ball. And the left fielder Pagan. Pirates still looking for their first hit. Trail the Giants by 1. Marte, speed to burn, could reach a whole new level of thefts this season. The Pirates also discuss the etiquette of talking to a pitcher on the day he starts, and much more. Check it out, Inside Pirates Baseball, presented by Allegheny Health Network, Wednesday after postgame on Root Sports. Brandon Belt takes a strike from Vogelsong. He singled in the first. One and one. Starling Marte picked up another assist, his 14th, with the throw last inning to the plate to get Trevor Brown. Assist leaders. Great arm of Starling Marte.
A substantial lead.
Yeah. To center. McCutchen racing back. Can't get there. Leadoff double for Belt.
Didn't hang up long enough. And it got a little higher. Maybe Kutch could have ran under it. Doing their best to try and
Figure out a way to get it.
Pop down.
Follow the bouncing ball.
The ball was kind of hit low enough that it just didn't have the hang time that McCutchen needed. Hit almost exactly right, dead over the top of his head. Caught a ball similar to that Dodger Stadium, made a great catch.
A leadoff double. Here's Brandon Crawford. He walked his first time. Lined it to right. And Polanco sets up for the throw. All the way to third. And safe there, Brandon Belt. Starling Marte looking out at Polanco.
I gave him a hard time about that. He'll say something to him. Probably about the trajectory. He'll say something. Ball's a little high.
And he gets that down lower. He got a real good shot of getting it.
Yeah, you want it. It's faster to throw the ball lower and get that ball in there on a bounce if you can. Well, it's high like that. I mean, it's going to have like ice on it, snow and stuff.
Well, just
pick up weight.
Just ask Marte. Two hopper got there to Cervelli to apply the tag of Trevor Brown. Infield in all the way around. And a base hit, 2-0. Hunter Pence.
That base hit, Greg, is probably the perfect example of why you hate to have the infield to come in. You got to do it here to try to stop the. But look at this. This ground ball. That's about as routine a ground ball as short as you're going to get if the infield's back. Say there's nobody on base. But and that's why you take a chance. You tag up at second base with nobody out. You move over there. Get that infield to come in and play up tight. Give an advantage to your hitter.
Brandon Belt doubled and scored. Panic walked with the bases loaded in the first.
Quick with that swing off the end of the bat.
2-1. Panik, first-round pick 5 years ago out of St. John's University. 25-year-old from Yonkers, New York, in his 3rd year with the Giants. And McCutchen. Two down. I'll bring up Eduardo Nunez. Panik flies to center. Pence remains at first. Vogelsong gave up the first inning run. 7 men came to the plate. He got Nunez to dribble one toward the left side of the infield, and Jung Ho Kang made a fine play to retire Nunez and the Giants in the first. Questioning that call.
Seemed to finally agree with it, though. Gave it a little nod.
Once it was explained to him.
Yeah, it was like, oh, okay.
Okay, I understand now.
Yeah, no, it's a strike. Okay.
Nunez was having a solid season with the Twins. 296, a dozen homers, 47 runs batted in. The Giants traded a prospect to get him, and then they would, from there, deal Matt Duffy to Tampa Bay to get tonight's starter Matt Moore. Another weak pop-up.
Uh-oh, get it in. Here comes Pence.
He's not stopping, and now he does.
Oh, look at that.
And now,
did he fall down?
I don't know, but boy, Freese took a while before he finally tossed it to Jung Ho Kang, and they get the out at third base as Hunter Pence was going to try and score on the pop-up. 2-0 Giants. And thrown out on the bases. Otherwise, it would be worse. 2-0. Here's the score. Hunter Pence was held up at third by Roberto Kelly. You can see if he keeps going, he's got a real good chance to score.
Oh yeah, the throw. You can see the throw was coming in. It was going to be way offline. He would have probably ended up scoring standing up. And you kind of get shocked, I think, Greg, by the, with 2 outs. Well, why would you ever hold anybody? With 2 outs, that's when you take a chance. And they took a chance with 1 out with Marte and lost. That was the other guy that got thrown out, which also was kind of like, wow, 1 out, you're going to challenge Marte?
I mean, no disrespect, but everybody knows that Marte's got the best arm of the outfield, and certainly better than McCutcheon's.
It really was an odd decision with 1 out when they ran on Marte. And then with 2 outs, when you do want to challenge somebody, they put up the stop sign late. So thank you very much, and a couple of runs were erased.
David Freese, who took that throw that was off the mark and then tossed on to Young for the final out. The strikeout of McCutcheon is the 3rd of the night for Matt Moore as the Pirates look for that first hit. There it is. David Freese, a 1-out single, will bring up Marte. Marte hit a drive to center field in the 2nd. And going back to that throw and the play at the plate, Point Park University tweets that nailed Trevor Brown in the 2nd for the 2nd out, and giving Starling Marte his 14th outfield assist.
Yeah, we saw him talking about it in the dugout afterwards. Probably Marte, I would think, coming up to Cervelli and tell him, hey, nice job. You know, it wasn't the best throw in the world. You turned it into an out. Teamwork.
Matt Moore facing Starling Marte with 1 out in the 4th.
That's a pretty good pitch, isn't it? That thing's got some sharp break to it.
It'll stay 1-2.
You know how the scouting report always gives like a little saying here?
A little saying, yeah. What's the saying today?
Today's saying is it's about more.
Yeah.
Scouting report. You got me laughing, man.
Shoots that one into the seats.
Says as a Giant that he's been using his curveball more, especially ahead in the count. He's getting a lot more strikeouts and fewer hits. And we're seeing that. This is saying is right on the mark. Some of these sayings aren't necessarily right on the mark. This one is giving us a good read.
Spot on.
Yep. The curveball is a very good pitch.
And a ground single to right.
Marte saying, I'll show you how good it is.
First 2 hits of the game coming with 1 out, back-to-back Freese and Marte.
That was not such a good curveball. He left that way up. Well, nice opportunity here to get one into the bleachers.
0-1. We get word now from the Pirates about Tyler Glasnow, who went back to Pittsburgh to be evaluated by team physicians and determined he is ready to throw a bullpen on Tuesday with the Altoona club. So a little bit of a scare, but get right back to work. One ball, one strike on Jung Ho Kang. Again, a ball that drops down, 1-2.
Man, that is really a good hook.
Made it to the big leagues in 2011 with Tampa Bay. Line towards center field, gets down, and Rick Sofield will hold Freeze at third. And now they are loaded, 3 straight singles.
You see the line drive back through the middle. Another one of those curveballs that this time's left up in the strike zone. He's got a good one. He's got good break on it, but the command could be better when he's got 2 strikes. That wasn't in the saying.
No.
I'm going to have to amend the saying. Well, he's really going to that hook now too, isn't he? He's throwing one right after another. It's almost like he's
falling in love with it.
Yeah, leery with his fastball.
Cervelli drew a walk in the second. 6-game hitting streak. And now this is with the fastball, 2-0.
This is badly. About time for a visit to the mound. Look of concern.
A base hit can tie the game with the speed of Marte at second. And all of a sudden it's 3-0. Again, Matt Moore only recently showing control issues.
Maybe it's because he's throwing more curveballs.
Yeah.
According to
Check out the sayings.
Yeah.
He walked 4 Mariners on May the 9th in just 4 2/3 innings. And he walked Cervelli on 4 pitches to get the Pirates on the board. Well, this was a weapon of sorts for the Pirates over the weekend against the Dodgers. The Pirates didn't take full advantage of it on Saturday, all the free passes.
It was a weapon earlier in the year.
Yeah.
A lot of patience, a lot of base on balls. On base percentage for the entire team was well up there.
Well, Freeze, who started it with a base hit, gets the high fives, and Dave Righetti out to the mound. The clock has expired. But Dave Righetti will not pay any attention to Mike Malinsky. And he'll now leave.
Clock is just a suggestion, Greg.
I know. Understand.
Suggestion.
Well aware of that. No penalties. Starling Marte, the base hit to right field at third now. Jung Ho Kang single to center, and Francisco Cervelli picks up RBI number 27 with the bases loaded walk. Gregory Polanco lined out to the left center field gap in the second. That would come in handy right now. A gap shot. And he chases the pitch well out of the zone. Polanco 6 for 14 in that series against the Giants at PNC Park earlier this year with a home run, drove in 5 in the 4-game set. And a little soft base hit will do just fine. 1 run in. Throw toward third is off the mark by Pence, and Polanco goes to second as he delivers. Marte and Gung score. The Pirates take the lead in the 4th.
Boy, that's a nice job by Cervelli going first to third on that and drawing that throw from Pence. Polanco just a little soft serve.
63 RBIs for him now.
Off the end of the bat. I don't know why Pence bothered to make that throw. Polanco was so high, Polanco didn't even have to hesitate. He knew he could easily get into scoring position.
I wondered if Pence might give it a shot at home, because Gung does not run well at all. But that throw certainly allows Polanco to trot into second. And now the infield in all the way around for Vogelsong. How much would he love to pick up a ribby here?
Yeah, this makes it a little bit, yeah, you turn the pitcher now into a little more of a dangerous hitter. Infield comes in. So all he's trying to do is punch one out there anyway. So now you're making a little, if he does accomplish that, you're making it where he can punch it through the infield much more easily and score a couple of runs.
Now Giants fans getting a bit antsy with their new pitcher.
Not happy. They expected more.
Oh, big cut.
Oh, that was a nice one. To get to the outfield. A fastball up around that P.
But statistic there. This is the second time through the lineup, and the Pirates have done damage against him.
Giant bullpen is in action.
And Vogelsong wanted to call time and didn't get it. Second out, 4 strikeouts.
He's upset. He'll have something to say next time he's on the mound and somebody calls time and he has to stop his windup.
I don't know if you saw Chris Coughlin try and do the exact same thing the other day for the Cubs. Same thing, only he delivered an RBI single as Harrison comes up empty. George Contos is up in the bullpen.
Probably a base hit away from seeing him come into the game.
One and one on Jay Hay. He's grounded out twice to the left side of the infield. He's just 1 out of 16 so far in the 5 games played against the Giants, and he came in a .219 career hitter against San Francisco, so Giants pitchers over the years have done a good job against Harrison, as he leads off for the 9th time in the last 10 games for the Bucks. In 14 games this season, batting from this position of the lineup, he's hitting .356. Popped up with some room in foul territory. Pence stumbles and makes the catch. Hunter Pence falls to the ground and still makes the catch.
See something new every night, don't you?
Especially from Hunter Pence. One of the most unorthodox players in baseball. Never quits. What a play.
It's time for the Toyota RAV 4th inning. The all-wheel drive RAV Hybrid has performance that will make you rethink hybrid. Let's go Bucks!
Pirates lead 3-2. Gregory Polanco delivering his base hit, scoring a pair. Josh Harrison thought he was going to get another shot after that foul ball in right field. Initially looked as though Pence was not going to be able to make the play as he fell, approaching the home plate area, the bullpen. Still got the remnants of the black eye from the other day at the plate. Foul ball came up and hit him. Hunter Pence. And a foul ball.
He's kind of played like a wild man.
Yeah.
His rookie year.
Allegheny Health Network Supermo look. That's unbelievable.
That's
it's unbelievable.
That's concentration. Right
Yeah.
there. He put on the brakes, and then his feet slid right into the edge of the mound, which made him lose his balance, and he never took his eye off the ball.
And Roberto Kelly making up for Kelly putting on the brakes. And Jeff Samardzija seated next to Pence. We'll see Samardzija tomorrow. 1-2 on Trevor Brown. There's the Shark. Jeff Samardzija will be opposed by Jameson Taillon tomorrow night. 2-2. Hunter Pence tweeted out a picture of the black guy the other day.
Right after he combed his hair.
Yeah, scares people. A wild man indeed.
He does look
intense, isn't he?
Yeah. He said unorthodox. That's kind of the way he plays.
You look at the players that old cliche, it's worth the price of admission, just the one guy. For me, he's one of them. Talking about Josh Harrison all the time, about how Harrison is always on the go. Hence, certainly one of those players. Vogelsong able to get Brown, jammed him.
Bogey needs a nice, easy inning here.
Yeah, he knows two things. Number one, his team just came back for him and scored 3, so he's got the lead.
He's got 8-9 starting the inning off.
Yep, wants to put up a 0,
yep.
And he needs to go at least 5 to get a win. And that pitch count, at the moment, okay, but doesn't want to have anything like he had the first couple innings.
Yeah, nice 1-2-3 inning. Get that pitch count in decent shape. Probably get the inning over if it's a 1-2-3 inning with pitch count about 70. And he'll have another 30 pitches to work with to try to get through the next inning or two. If he can get these next 2 outs in an easy fashion.
Mercer initially drops it and then throws a tough ball to Freese, who expertly swipes it out of the dirt, saving Mercer an error.
Went from a routine out to a little bit of a nail biter. Mercer went into hurry mode when he dropped that ball, not realizing that Moore was just jogging down the line. So he kind of tossed it over there sidearm and flat-footed.
A little trot.
I mean, he had plenty of time to pick it up and then go into a Ross Ollendorf style windup and still get the ball over there.
So Mercer gets saved by David Freese. Mercer 1 error in his last 75 games. A league-leading .989 fielding percentage among National League shortstops. A total of just 5 miscues all year. And when people talk about the best defensive shortstops in baseball, they don't often mention Mercer's name, but he should really start drawing more attention. And a base hit for Span.
Here's one of the things that's going to help, Greg, is he's hit this year. He's got good offensive numbers, and that makes you noticed. And people start looking at you, and then they're like, "Whoa, wow, this guy really can field also."
Yeah, they look at the positions, they look at the batting averages first.
It seems like it.
Yeah, it does. And they say, well, let's check out his defensive numbers.
The offense really gets you noticed, and then once they notice you as a player, now it's like, wow, this guy, look at his defensive numbers, and start getting those votes. We've seen it happen many times over the years when it comes to that Gold Glove award.
Does he remind you a little bit of the steady play like a Jay Bell?
They're a little bit of a different player, but yeah, very steady.
Yeah, not flashy.
No, yeah, I guess that's the common ground, is they don't have any flashiness about them. Their style of fielding the ball is different, though.
Yeah, and sometimes that can play against a defender when he's not flashy, because the flash can also get the attention along with the batting average. Look at the regular shortstops around the league. And the errors. The rookie Aledmus Diaz is now on the DL for the Cardinals, 16. The Brewers' Jonathan Villar leads all National League shortstops in that dubious department with 17 miscues. Brandon Crawford there has 11, which isn't bad, but compared to Mercer, just 5. Angel Pagan is 1 for 2. Shortstops, fielding percentage leaders. Here's Freddie Galvis up there, the Phillies shortstop. Asdrubal Cabrera of the Mets, Adeiny Echeverria, and the Washington Nationals, Danny Espinosa.
You know, if he was to win it, he'd have to send him his glove because he won't wear another glove.
Oh, that's right.
They'll have to change the, have to put a gold label on it.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to wear a new glove. So if he wants to have that gold Rawlings instead of the red one, he'll have to send that one back to the factory. If he can get the votes.
Runner goes and it's chopped. Jung Ho Gong on to first. A 0 for Vogelsong.
Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute.
We're going to have, we've got a call here without even replay. What is the call? Was it catcher's interference?
Interference, perhaps.
It's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, because I think the play department made the call. Has to be where it was.
Has begun reaching now. And Brandon Belt coming to the plate. So let's watch this.
Just barely ticked the glove.
You can see the home plate umpire Mike Belinsky take off that mask and point.
Yeah, he heard it. That's one of those plays that they use their ears. I think it was his left ear. Did you see that? He's
yes,
tugging on you. That's what you heard. It was left ear.
That's an E2. Cervelli charged with his 6th error. So Vogelsong thought he was out of the inning. And now falls behind 2-0.
Yeah, that would have been nice to get that last out. We're talking about the pitch count.
And he's going to get out of it.
Yeah, nobody hurt.
Well, a couple guys saved the day in that inning. David Freese saves Mercer, and Vogelsong picks up his catcher. Pirates in front. And to the 5th inning, Ryan Vogelsong able to hold the fort.
Likes to stay on his feet in that dugout.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
He's not one to sit back.
Jordy Mercer. We're talking about the fact that he will get more attention because of this fine offensive season he's having. 0 for 2 tonight. But a .318 career hitter against the Giants. Twice flied out to left against Matt Moore.
Moore barely able to stay in the game last inning. They had him on the edge of being knocked out.
8 men to the plate against him. Here's Crawford. Crawford, the Gold Glove winner last year at shortstop. Kick off your weekend with a free shirt Friday. Friday, Pirates Marlins, 7:05. Be one of the first 20,000 fans and get a free Cannonball Comin' t-shirt presented by Peoples. Go to pirates.com/free shirt Friday. The Bucks and the Giants tonight, game 1 of 3.
Greg, is that like a tearaway or something?
Yes,
How's that work?
yeah.
Is it like split down the back
Yes.
so when you pull
And
on it,
have you ever seen
it
Blas
comes off?
in his
Oh, the suit he has.
the tuxedo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the same way as
Yeah.
your Pirates.
Yeah.
I was wondering how you did that. That was pretty cool.
They start to get the announcers involved in these promotions. So
It's going to be a popular T-shirt.
Absolutely.
I'm going to get one myself. I'm going to go tear one off somebody like that. Just
Blas will do
snatch
that.
it.
Yeah. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Is it hard to pull those shirts off like that?
Actually, that's just
Snap off easy?
snap on, snap off. No, it was very difficult. Grueling line foul.
Ooh.
Boy, that was smoked. But it's good that the folks in the promotions department, Brian Chiera and company, are getting the broadcasters involved, because Bob, you'll be next. And then I think after you, it's John and Steve and Joe. All will be involved in these.
Well, not really, because we'd have to come up with some kind of a catchphrase. We don't really have one.
Look at this.
From
the seat of his pants, he throws out McCutchen. Eduardo Nunez pulls a Pence.
Yeah, I was just saying, Pence is getting shown up. I'm sure that's the first thing Pence thought. Look at that. Knocked that ball. Was smoked almost like that line drive. He hit foul. And he was able to somehow, from the seat of his pants, get an accurate throw across the diamond. Great play by Nunez.
David Freese.
Again, he's gotten in between hops, so he's given ground, and because of that, he lost his balance. And I'm not sure, Greg, but he might have had his eyes closed when he caught that.
Really? Eduardo Nunez throws out McCutchen while seated on the dirt. 2-1 on Freese. Hard. Matt McCutchen 0 for 3. Pirates with 4 hits.
Kutch really is looked different in the last couple of weeks. Hitting a lot of line drives. That line drive percentage is really taking a jump. Been not chasing so many pitches, getting a lot of base on balls. Looking more and more like the cuts we've seen since day one.
Oh, Nunez wants to rob Freese, and he does. Eduardo Nunez, back-to-back sparkling plays.
Hunter who?
This time he robs David Freese.
Pirates Baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by the Chevy Traverse and your Western PA Chevy dealers. And by Barrel. We'll beat anybody's price. Find out more at barrel.com. Let's go Bucks!
Well, the Pirates are leading this game 3-2, but stellar defensive work from the Giants. And David Freese, a chance to get the first out, and will. One pitch, Brandon Crawford fouls out to David Freese. No falling, no excitement. Vogelsong can't go wrong. They gave up the run in the first on a bases loaded walk with 2 outs. Second run in the third inning came when Hunter Pence singled home Brandon Belt. Bob, you just don't double check that this cough button is working.
What was it? Something.
Okay, it's working. Good.
Don't touch my
Yeah.
button.
Well, we're going to have to
there.
because the folks in the truck aren't happy with you. Broken bat roller to third. In the meantime, as we get that fixed, we'll go back to the studio. Rob King for a game break. All right, Rob, thanks much. Ryan Vogelsong gets 2 quick outs here in the 5th. And he faces Joe Panik. This is becoming an even bigger story that Ryan Vogelsong is authoring.
Yeah, I mean
it's his 3rd start since this DL stint, and out and left, the catch made. A 5-pitch 5th inning. He is back in San Francisco, and he's dealing again.
lightning quick bottom of the 5th inning for Ryan Vogelsong. I'm Robbie Mikowski here behind home plate, hanging out with Ryan's wife, Nicole. Ryan, you've been through all the ups, all the downs of Ryan's baseball career, but to see him come back tonight to a standing ovation in that video, what was it like for you and your family?
I mean, it's amazing to see his work over the last 5 years appreciated after everything we went through. It was great. It was really, really great.
How about when you look at all his trials and tribulations, 2 stints with the Pirates, 2 stints with the Giants, what makes him so strong in overcoming everything that he has in his life and career?
You know, every day I'm so amazed by him. His resilience, his perseverance. He never stops working. It's so hard to explain. I wish I could bottle it up and be able to sell it to people. The work ethic and just the way he just has in his mind that nothing's going to beat him and he'll never give up.
Now, you've been yapping from the time you walked in this ballpark, including right now, and you probably might not end until you go to sleep tonight. What's this night like coming back here to San Francisco?
There are so many people here that have such a special place in our heart. And, you know, what's so crazy to me is I've come back here tonight and had so many ushers and so many vendors say hey. But, you know, when I walked into Pittsburgh at the beginning of this year, I had the same reception. I had people from 10 years ago that remembered me. There's an amazing beer vendor that works all 3 sports in Pittsburgh, and he saw me and he was like, Vogelsong! And I remember seeing him when I was a kid. He was like what we look forward to. And so seeing these people here tonight, their family, they have my heart, and I'm just thankful that Ryan's able to stand on a mound tonight and pitch a game, because it could have been the other way.
Well, Ryan, or Nicole, we're happy to see Ryan back, and thank you for joining us.
No problem. Thank you. Go Pirates.
Yep. Now, Greg, I don't know if it's an election for the mayor of San Francisco, but if Nicole Vogelsong ran on whatever ticket, I promise you she would make it a tight race no matter what. Whatever she stands for, she would win a mayoral election here in San Francisco.
And she's got our vote, Robbie.
You have Greg Brown's vote, okay?
Thank you.
She's the greatest. Nicole, and watching her husband, Ryan, and what, again, a story this is. That didn't miss by much. After Starling Marte flied out to begin the 6th.
Just down in a little bit. Now, watching Vogelsong tonight, though, he's really had to kind of battle a little bit early in the game to get to this point. He really was not enjoying the good control, the command that he's had the first 2 outings back. He's had to fight that a little bit. I don't know if it's maybe a little nerves or early or what, but he beat it. And especially in that last inning, he's putting the ball right where he wants and getting that nice, easy, soft contact.
Cervelli, 2 walks. The last one scored a run. Matt Moore, another guy who has survived this game. The bullpen was up in the 4th inning. George Contos, but he has set down 7 straight, and that will end that little string. Cervelli is having quite a road trip. Now 6 for 10. On base 3 times tonight. Was on base 4 times in 5 trips to the plate on Saturday. And the batter, Gregory Polanco. See that 31 pitch 4th inning, contributing to this pitch count, which will reach 100. And the first pitch he throws to Polanco. Deep to right field and clear the deck. Cannonball coming. El Cafe.
2 more RBIs.
4 RBI night, 17 homers for the year. And the Bucks take a 5-2 lead in the 6th. And we have a splashdown. As it bounces into the bay, McCovey Cove, Gregory Polanco, 17 home runs now. A bullet.
Number 8 hitter has 65 RBIs. That's kind of the way the lineup's been all year. It kind of evolves. It goes all over the place. Polanco hitting 8th tonight, picks up 4 RBIs. It's just been a kind of an unpredictable deal with this offense the Pirates have had this year. They had a little time there where, when the season started, we were worried about, are they going to be able to hit any home runs, because they lost a lot last year with the changes they made, and they got to where they were hitting long balls even more than they'd hit last year. But then they got into a little bit of a funk where the ball quit going over the fence.
Vogelsong, a line drive to right field. A catch made by Pence. Gregory Polanco, 2-run homer with 2 outs and a man aboard. 17 home runs on the year, and as Bob said, now 65 RBIs. Hits it over that 24-foot-high wall and bouncing into the bay. Just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to look forward to Miller time later in the game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Line drive home run for Gregory Polanco, and the Pirates take now a 5-2 lead. Bottom of the 6th, in the bottom third of the order. Eduardo Nunez takes a strike from Vogelsong. Vogelsong retired the side in order on just 5 pitches in the 5th. Nunez, and a pop up to shallow right center field. That was deflected off of Gregory Polanco's glove. On the play, Andrew McCutchen picked it up, threw toward the plate, and Hunter Pence, rounding third, was eventually tagged out. A couple of big plays in this game, with Trevor Brown being thrown out in the 2nd on the throw from Marte and the dive by Cervelli. And that decision by third base coach Roberto Kelly to hold Pence on that play. Deep to left. What a night for Eduardo Nunez. A couple of stellar defensive plays. and his second hit. And for Eduardo Nunez, he hits his first home run as a Giant in his 16th game since coming over from the Twins.
Kind of thought there might be a couple of long balls tonight as we were settling in before it got dark. You could look at those flags up there above the big clock, and they've been blowing out the whole time. There wasn't much doubt that this was going out. Immediately you see Vogelsong, wouldn't even look at it. He looked down at the line in the lawn.
Fourth home run allowed by Vogelsong in 39 innings of work. Pirates will activate the bullpen. One and two. Brown has walked and popped up. Tied up there. And for Vogelsong, strikeout number 1 on the night.
Put Goldman on it. That baby run in.
39-year-old Ryan Vogelsong will now face pinch hitter Gregor Blanco, who's hitless in his last 16 at-bats. When you think about 39 years old, Vogelsong celebrated a birthday last month. Last year, A.J. Burnett pitched at the age of 39 for the Pirates. The oldest Pirates pitcher, go back to 1962 when Diomedes Olivo pitched on September 30th that year at the age of 43 years, 251 days. Olivo had made his major league debut at the age of 41 in September of 1960.
That's a pretty old rookie.
Yeah.
41.
Yeah.
I think that would be my surprise of the night. 41-year-old rookie. Wow.
Well, McCutcheon should have this one. And he will. The second out. Yeah, at the time he made his debut, Diomedes Olivo for the Pirates, at the age of 41 on September 5th, 1960. The oldest pitcher to make his debut, with the exception of Satchel Paige. In the post-World War II era, Satchel Paige pitched at the age of 59 on September 25th, 1969 with the Kansas City A's. And a drive to deep right field by Denard Span. And that's gone. Makes it 5-4. 6th of the year for Span. That just clearing the 24-foot-high wall.
They were a little premature with the water spray, weren't they?
Yeah, that was close.
They got it right.
But... Vogelsong is asking Clint Hurdle not to come out. He's putting his hands out. Wanted to get one more out. But it's now 5-4, and he should get a great ovation.
Yeah, he should.
leading still 5-4. A pair of solo homers in the 6th, ending the night for Ryan Vogelsong. This is Denard Span hitting his 6th of the season. That's a 24-foot high wall in honor of Willie Mays, some 309 feet away. Just does clear it. And now Antonio Bastardo faces Angel Pagan, who will turn around and bat right-handed.
Bastardo's numbers on the year.
Oh, get that call, the Pirates do.
No doubt, you should have asked me, Greg.
Vogelsong paces. Bastardo faced 4 batters in the 7th inning yesterday. He walked Howie Kendrick to start the 7th, the game the Pirates eventually won going away. Vogelsong now standing next to Jeff Branson, the Pirates hitting coach. Looked as though he was trying to keep Clint Hurdle from even coming out of the dugout, pleading his case. But once Hurdle, of course, had stepped out, there was no turning back. He made a decision after that home run that he had to go get Vogelsong. And that'll do it. So Bastardo gets the final out. Book closed on Vogelsong. He can get the win, but it's just a 1-run Pirates lead. Pirates lead go to the 7th inning here at AT Park in San Francisco. Our day automotive this day in Pirates history, August 15th, 1970. Pirates beat the Padres 9-3 at Three River Stadium. Jose Pagan, a huge day, 4 for 4, 2 homers, 5 RBIs. Phil Mazeroski also homered for the Pirates. Bob Field, bases clearing RBI double in the 6th inning. The Pirates pitcher on the mound went the distance, struck out 12 on the way to his 8th win of the year. Jose Pagan, who began his career with these Giants and several solid seasons with the Pirates. Jose Pagan played his last major league game on this date in 1973 with the Philadelphia Phillies against the Giants. First pitch swinging, second pitch swinging, Josh Harrison singles sharply into center against the reliever George Contos.
Jay Hay trying to get everybody fired up.
Let's get back at it, get some more runs.
Talking to the dugout there. They know they're in a battle now.
Sergio Romo gets up. This bullpen imploded yesterday for San Francisco. 7-1 lead entering the 7th inning. They lost to the Orioles 8-7. First time the Giants had lost a game in which they led by 6 or more runs in the 7th inning or later in almost 16 years. Jordy Mercer looks for his first hit.
Good look at Kutch. Ready on deck. Good lead by Jay Hay. They're going to check it. Moving back. Not a very good percentage, really. 22%. That's close. Jay Hay got caught leaning a little bit. That's what made that so close. He was just about to move out another maybe half a step.
He has 15 steals, does Harrison. Caught only twice.
Outstanding success ratio.
And opponents are 5 for 5 against Contos this year.
Now.
There he goes. And a base hit to right field for Mercer. Jay Hay, a slight stumble around the bag, but no problem to get to third. Black and gold on the corners with nobody out.
It's always a beautiful thing when that side opens up like that and you can shoot a ball through there on a line. Inside outing, a ball that was down and in. Nobody home at the second base position. Easy base hit.
Bruce Bochy is going to go to another reliever. As Harrison, there's a slight little stumble. First and third, nobody out. Contos faces 2 batters, cannot retire either man, and Sergio Romo is coming on. on the Giants. Start this 3-game series. Josh Harrison during the break, listen to the public address, the music.
That's great. He just went first to third. And that line drive. He's got energy to dance.
Yeah.
While the pitcher's warming up.
That is great. Man, does he love this game?
Why we love him.
Yep. Positive energy that guy brings. Sergio Romo spent almost 3 months on the disabled list this season. Came back last month. Was involved in the collapse yesterday. Andrew McCutchen is 0 for 3. Infield could turn 2 here. McCutchen, a 300 career hitter against Romo, 3 for 10. Bucco fans. Sergio Romo. It's Lou Seal, the mascot.
That was the pitch Romo wanted to get him out. Now he's going to take a little walk because they just go back to the drawing board. I think he thought if he could throw that one, he'd get a swing and a miss. He did, but Kutch able to say no to it. Would love to get a strikeout here. Runner at third, Jay Hay, but nobody out.
Two and two. And a fly ball to shallow left center field. That's in there for an RBI single for Andrew McCutchen.
Another one of those hits that are hits because the infield was drawn in. Remember earlier we talked, was it Hunter Pence hit that little chopper in the infield that snuck through with the Pirates drawn in. Well, now you get a routine pop fly to the shortstop position, but because the shortstop's in on the grass, it's a knock.
Mercer watches. Crawford not able to get there. RBI number 48 on the year. The Pirates now lead 6-4. Get one of those 2 runs back. Josh Harrison got this thing going.
Yes, he did, as always. Look, as he's walking down the dugout, everybody passes starts laughing.
Like him at the top of the order.
Yeah, you know, nothing's ever perfect.
Yep.
You know, it would be nice to have a better on-base percentage up there, but
you can't have every. I'm not saying you. I'm saying the general you, not specifically. But you can't have every player in the perfect player, perfect spot.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Right.
Nobody has the perfect lineup. Of course, at the beginning of the year, they had Andrew McCutchen hitting second. John Jaso led off. He strikes out for a second time. Romo gets the first out. Josh Harrison
just yapping away, isn't he? A lot of yapping in this ballpark.
Ball one on Marte. And that's a fair ball past third. Jordy Mercer will score, and the fan reaches down. And that, whether that cost the Pirates a run or not, we'll never know. But they do now lead it 7-4. That will force McCutchen to hold at third. Marte gets the RBI double. Fans out of there.
Breaking ball, they hung over the inside half of the plate, right at the knees.
That gentleman with an Altoona curve cap. Oh no, he just really thought that was a foul ball.
Yeah, it just see what
he would never have done that to his Buccos.
So what do they do with him now, Greg? Is this jail time or?
I don't think so. I think they escort you out of that section and probably say, go ahead and sit in the upper deck.
Sit somewhere else.
Yeah.
Can't have you in the first row.
Yeah.
That's your penalty.
Now is Clint Hurdle going to try and talk to the umpires, and maybe would they go to New York upon his suggestion, talk to the crew chief Mike Winters, maybe look at the replay? That's what they're going to do. They're just going to ask, not challenge, they're just asking Mike Malinsky. You can see him say, okay, whether the guy would have scored or not. So he's going to ask Mike Winters, the crew chief, if he would, by umpire review, get on the headsets to New York and see if perhaps McCutchen shouldn't have scored. So Clint Hurdle pleads the case to the home plate umpire, who now relays that message to Mike Winters, who kind of begrudgingly puts on the headset.
He's not happy about it, is he?
I don't think he wanted to do
the
this.
look on his face. Since the headset's sitting
They're here. What am I going to do?
Go ahead.
I'll put it on.
Yeah, we'll ask.
Oh, take another look.
Here we go. We got a little bit of an idea here. Right about now, the ball's probably getting picked up. I don't know, Greg. I think it could go either way.
On the headsets.
You know what I forgot to look at on that replay? What was Sofield doing? Was he waving him home, or was he holding him up?
I didn't see that either.
That might go into what the umpires decide. Yeah. Look at the third base coach. No, they're going to leave them where they're at. It was a good try. Okay, Sofield obviously is waving home there. He's putting up the stop sign.
Well, of course, he might be putting on the stop sign because he sees the umpire showing fan interference and telling Andrew McCutchen you can't go anywhere.
Could be. That's a tough one to win, I think.
Yeah.
You know, it's worth an ask.
Mm-hmm. Jung Ho Kang, a walk, a single, a strikeout, a run scored. Ball, one strike. Javier Lopez. Well, two lefties in the bullpen for the Giants. Gregory Polanco is in the hole. On deck is Cervelli. The infield in, a chance here for Kang. Jared Hughes up.
Hit here just kind of one of those put it on ice type hits, huh?
It would be nice to put it on ice because we're getting word that the New York Replay Center is saying that was a challenge. Well, we were led to believe that that was not reviewable or challengeable, I should say. Gets the strikeout of Kang.
Every pitch in, down and 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 in. Finally went down away with him, and that fooled him. Look at the little the location of everything except for the last pitch. That's what got the strikeout. Still a chance though for one more hit. Make it 9-4.
Just to we've got conflicting reports on that, whether it was a challenge or not. The press box is saying it was an umpire review. There's the crew chief, Mike Winters, and the manager, Clint Hurdle. Who knows?
Not us.
We don't. Cervelli has walked twice, singled and scored, and that walk with the bases loaded in the fourth inning brought in the Pirates' first run. Pirates had a 3-run fourth. Gregory Polanco, a 2-run homer last inning. They've put a 2 spot on the board here.
Just a smidgen inside, but it was Cervelli. He has such a good eye. He knows that ball was inside. So he's shaking his head, didn't like it.
Comes in, gives up a couple of hits, 2-run score. And he gets the last 2 on strikeouts.
Baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by Kenny Ross, Total Confidence Pricing, and by Levin Furniture, the official furniture and mattress supplier to the Pittsburgh Pirates. For the best quality, service, and value, shop Levin's. Let's go Bucks!
7-4 ball game. The Pirates leading. Here in San Francisco, AT Park. Starling Marte,
dizzy.
yeah. Starling Marte, RBI double. Felipe Rivero.
He will have the 7th inning job tonight.
The other way, and a base hit to start the inning by Brandon Belt. Sunday matinee games make it a kids' day at PNC Park. Pirates Marlins meet this coming Sunday, 1:35. All kids 14 and younger get a WB Mason truck and can enjoy fun and games on Federal Street. For tickets, go to pirates.com. Pirates and the Marlins. Marlins won today, so they and the Cardinals are tied for the second wild card spot. Pirates need a win to stay a game and a half back.
You know what I like better, the truck or your T-shirt? I'm sure which one I want worse. I want them both. Two great giveaways. Greg, you there?
Brandon Crawford. Yep, I'm here. Brandon Crawford at the plate.
Thought maybe your cough button was stuck or something.
No, my cough button works fine.
Oh, well,
yours is the one that's the problem.
Didn't hear you there for a while.
Well, what did you want me to say?
I don't know. Something about I was just giving you a compliment about that T-shirt.
No, you weren't.
Now you clammed up on me. You were yapping earlier.
2-0 the count on Crawford after Belt delivers a leadoff single.
Cervelli out calling time, maybe telling Rivero, hey, let's concentrate on the hitter now. We got a 3-run lead. Makes me believe that Cervelli did not give the sign for a pickoff throw.
And now it's 3-0. Rivero taking a little walk behind the mound and gather himself. Lefties are hitting .319 against Felipe Rivero. Righties just .184. Those numbers combine Pirates and Nationals.
It's like contingent leaving the dugout, heading for the bullpen.
Neftali Feliz was heading out.
Heading back.
First and second, nobody out.
Now they're heading out. There's a little more speed. It's getting interesting again. Sure could have used that one more base hit, huh? They got a couple more runs home.
Here comes Ray Searage. And though the lefties are overall hitting over .300 against Rivero, just .182 since joining the Pirates. And now he faces the right-handed hitting Hunter Pence, but first,
I can't believe it's
a
comfortable at bat for a left-handed hitter against Rivero. As hard as he throws, And they're not used to seeing left-handed pitching anyway, most of them.
Rivero pitched a scoreless 7th inning against the Dodgers on Friday with a couple of strikeouts. Did give up a hit to the left-handed hitting Corey Seager. And Rivero yesterday faced 5 batters. Only 1 man reached. He hit Adrian Gonzalez, but he struck out the left-handed hitting Josh Reddick, got Corey Seager, the lefty hitter, to ground out, and lefty hitter Jock Peterson struck out swinging. He struck out Yasmani Grandal, who batted right-handed, looking. The Felice is up. Pence is at the plate. Oh, 0-1.
Pence all charged up, ready to go after that big fastball, and first pitch changeup. Wasn't expecting that.
Hunter Pence emoji.
Plays with a lot of emoji.
'Felipe Rivero from the Nationals in the Mark Melancon deal. And Clint Hurdle has been using him in the 7th inning with Felice in the 8th and Watson in the 9th since the trade with the lead. Two and two. And the runners do not move up.
Not a good decision, huh?
Belt holds at second.
And if you're up taking a big lead, nice secondary lead, and you see that ball bounce that high in the air, I mean,
the Pirates get a break as the runners do not move.
huge break.
And Rivero strikes out Pence for the first out.
2 times he went out there with that changeup well off the plate away. Strike 1 and strike 3. Both of them almost in the exact same spot, same result.
Joe Panic has walked, flied out, popped up, and starts him off with a breaking ball for strike 1. Oh, and 2. Panic brought in the first run of this ball game in the bottom of the first inning against Ryan Vogelsong when he walked with 2 outs, the bases loaded. Crawford walked following the base hit by Belt. Another block. This time they will move up.
Heel of the glove when it went out there. You kind of want ideally the ball to come up and hit you in the chest protector. That's a place where it's not going to go very far. But if it hits the glove, you know, if you ever look too closely at the catcher's glove, I mean, you can see the different corners and stuff. Could go anywhere, depending on where the glove it hits.
Jets panic on the breaking ball. Following the wild pitch, he strikes him out. 2 away. Felipe Rivero.
May have saved at least one run right there. If it gets a ground ball out there somewhere, they're a run closer, but instead that slider.
Clint Hurdle with the righty. Nunez coming to the plate, wants to go to Feliz here in the 7th. It's like a double switch as he goes to the home plate umpire first.
Jaso's going in the game.
Jaso coming in, as is Neftali Feliz. (7-4). Runners at second and third. Neftali Feliz facing Eduardo Nunez. Nunez homered off Vogelsong in the 6th. David Freese moves from first to third. And a clear indication that Sean Rodriguez is not able to go tonight. John Jaso over at first. Rodriguez, a little hamstring issue that forced him from the game yesterday. Jaso will be due up second in the 8th. A double switch. Batting in the 9th spot of the order. 0-2, 98 from Feliz.
Neftali's numbers on the year, pretty darn good. Doesn't walk very many people and doesn't give up very many hits to boot either. 194 opponent average.
Pirates looking for 4 outs tonight from Feliz.
He has been outstanding. I think he can get 4.
The Cueto turn. Not exactly sure if it happened moments after the Giants departed Pittsburgh, but there's no doubt he's been doing it a whole lot since Cueto was in Pittsburgh. There's Sean Rodriguez, not able to go tonight. Talking to Sean Rodriguez earlier today, he didn't seem all that concerned. But he'd be in there right now. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Nunez. Two and two. Trevor Brown is on deck. Nunez 2 for 3. First home run as a Giant last inning. And into center field. And McCutchen makes a diving catch for a spectacular out.
Game saver.
Andrew McCutchen just robbed Nunez of extra bases and the Giants of 2 runs. Nunez is stunned, as is this crowd. Nunez hit that ball. He and everybody in this ballpark thought it was a 7-6 ball game. But Andrew McCutchen, as good a catch as he made the other day in LA, this one's even better.
Oh, this was extremely important. This ball falls in 7-6. Going to be extra bases.
Wow.
You know, one of the key things about that catch, Greg, I liked is the way he takes care of the ball. Well, see how he curls it up to the, like he's pulling it into his chest? Actually kind of slapped himself in the face with it because he was so anxious to get that glove up off the ground as he's sliding. He didn't want to slide on over the top of the glove and knock it out, let it roll out on the grass.
That says it all.
Yep. That changes things.
McCutchen's made some, of course, highlight style catches over his career. Gold Glover. That one will rank in the top 5, no doubt.
He's
all
made
time.
his 2 best catches of the year right here on this road trip. It's almost like the line drives a bat, and he's like looking like himself everywhere out on the field.
Stealing some bases.
Yeah.
Gregory Polanco homered off lefty starter Matt Moore. Now he faces lefty Will Smith. Some sparkling defensive plays. Of course, the Hunter Pence catch ending the 4th. The ball hit by Josh Harrison in foul territory. Nunez himself robbing McCutchen and Freeze in the 5th. Shortstop Crawford. Yellowwoods presents Bringing the Lumber. Here's that home run by Polanco with 2 outs, a man on in the 6th. His 17th of the year. 2-run homer, giving him 4 RBIs tonight. El Cafe.
Got it out in the bay, and Yellowwood's pressure treated. It resists that moisture. Doesn't matter if it gets wet.
Jaso facing a lefty. First at bat for Jaso. John Jaso is 1 for 17 against left-handed pitching. A double switching because you wanted Felice to pitch into the 8th. And with Sean Rodriguez not available, Jaso the obvious choice. And Josh Harrison. I wish you could have put Adam Frazier at third. Frazier has shown that he can hit lefties. In fact, Clint Hurdle addressed that earlier in his office. And maybe figuring at this critical juncture, not going to have Frazier play third base. Maybe it was a defensive decision. Ball 4, he draws the walk. Will Smith, who was acquired from the Milwaukee Brewers, walks Jaso. And again, Jaso just has had limited action against Southpaws this year and has only 1 hit. So he'll certainly take the walk. There's Adam Frazier. If you're on the road traveling and you want to see your Buccos, subscribe to MLB.TV Premium for live or on-demand baseball on over 400 devices. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking, and more. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Ball 1.
That pickoff throw there, just see if Jaso was napping a little bit. Not really a threat to steal a base.
Fly ball to Pagan for the second out. Remember the fit Pagan threw at PNC Park earlier this year when he looked like he had a home run ball over the left field wall. And he came down without it. That was a David Freese. No, wouldn't have been Freese because Freese doesn't hit home runs to left. It was Eric Kratz on June the 20th. Eric Kratz no longer with the club, but was catching that night, and he homered off Madison Bumgarner for the only run in the game. The Pirates won it 1-0, and with 2 outs, Kratz had a drive to left. Pagan went back, leaped at the wall, had the ball for a moment as he reached over the wall, but couldn't keep it in his glove.
Is that the Kratz's first hit as a Pirate?
I think so.
I do remember that.
It was the only win the Pirates had in that series. 1-0 final over Bumgarner. They won't see Mad Bum this series.
Good.
They will see Jeff Samardzija on Tuesday night, and Wednesday afternoon, Matt Cain. There's Samardzija. Jameson Taillon for the Bucks. Ivan Nova on Wednesday. There's Matt Cain. And there's Jameson Taillon.
Everybody's got to where they're looking forward to those Taillon starts.
A look at our Quicken Loans Rocket Arms National League leaders in strikeouts. Mad Bum is third behind Max Scherzer and Jose Fernandez. Fernandez is listed as the starter for the Marlins on Friday, by the way. Steven Strasburg, Noah Syndergaard, the others on that list. And ball 4. So now Smith has to face McCutchen. Bochy trying not to show outward disgust, but a little bit of a head shake there.
Yeah, very little. I mean, he probably more than any other manager hides what he's thinking.
Yeah.
But right there, you saw a little head shake. It was, you know, he's been through so much as a manager over the years. I don't think a whole lot can phase him or bother him. Seen it all more than once.
Jake Peavy, who's listed as a reliever, he's going to start loosening in the bullpen. One 1. McCutchen 2 for 4 against the former Brewer in the past. Will Smith. McCutchen apparently did not think that was a strike, but that was well within the zone. As you see. Still 0-2. Pirates have hit 7 home runs on this trip now in 4 games. Polanco's home run earlier. McCutchen homered on Friday in LA. Jake Peavy moved to the bullpen when Matt Moore was acquired. Towards shallow right, Pence coming on, can't get there, base hit McCutchen, and another run will score, but out at third is Mercer. Jaso crosses the plate before the out at third, so McCutchen picks up another RBI single. And the Pirates add to their lead. It's 8-4.
Telecast is presented by the authority of the Pittsburgh Pirates and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Andrew McCutchen with a couple of RBI singles in this ball game. Brought in John Jaso, who walked with one out against Will Smith. And Neftali Felice got the last out last inning, and first pitch swinging Trevor Brown out of play.
And they want a fastball upstairs. He put it right where they wanted, and Kutch was able to beat him with it. Just punches it out to right field. Mercer thrown out pretty easily in the inning at third base.
McCutchen gets the RBI single. The Pirates have a runner thrown out at third for the final out. 0-2 on Trevor Brown. Brown was thrown out at the plate in the second inning on a base hit by Denard Span. Starling Marte through to Francisco Cervelli. That didn't miss by much, but all three. 98 miles an hour from Felice, and Cervelli made a great diving tag of the Giants catcher.
Could have been one of those turning point kind of moments.
Yeah.
Early in the game, things seemed to be going pretty well for the Giants, and
wow,
Brown swung.
It looked as though the first base umpire said he didn't swing Marty Foster. When they looked that way, I think that's what the Giants are saying. I feel like he was.
I didn't think that there was an ask. I thought it was called a swing.
Was the home
at
plate
plate
umpire saying he swung?
I thought the home plate umpire said he swung.
Yeah, he's pointing there.
Yeah, he's
the
saying
first
he swung.
base umpire says he's saying, wait a minute. Yeah, okay. He swung.
The plate umpire called him out on
Right.
the swing. There was no, he wasn't asking anybody.
Like Malinsky.
Oh, he's giving me the look down there.
Yeah,
I didn't ask you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just stretching
Yeah,
my arm.
yeah.
I had a tight shoulder. I was just stretching my shoulder. Hands behind his back.
Never again. I'm not going to do it again. Now I'm going to wait forever. Look at him shaking his head. One ball, one strike on the pinch hitter, Connor Gillespie. Oh, now the appeal down here. The crew chief, Mike Winters.
That's the way it's supposed to work right there.
Wait just a minute. Make sure
The
home plate
appeal
umpire
is
asks.
in the call.
Toward Polanco for out number 2.
Nice catch.
Routine compared to the ones we have seen from Andrew McCutchen on this road trip. On Friday in LA, that leaping catch, a game the Pirates would go on to win 5-1. Made that catch against Yasmani Grandal, and then tonight, even better, robbing Eduardo Nunez of a couple of RBIs. That would have made it a one-run game, and who knows. on Span. David Freese is there. 1, 2, 3 for Neftali Feliz. Pirates lead the Giants 8-4.
Kick off your weekend with a free shirt Friday. On Friday, the Bucks take on the Marlins at 7:05. Be one of the first 20,000 fans through the gates, and you can receive a free Cannonball Coming t-shirt presented by Peoples. For tickets, go to pirates.com/free shirt Friday. Greg, get that free t-shirt.
Oh my gosh, you are comical. What a funny guy.
I know.
I was trying to figure out what you're doing.
It was cold.
Yeah.
Cannonball coming. Been a few cannonballs tonight. Am I on your list now?
It might be. I'm going to draw a line in the lawn here in a minute. Jake Peavy moved to the bullpen after Matt Moore was traded to San Francisco. 15-year big league veteran. This is his 6th relief outing. And before this season, he had made one career appearance out of the bullpen, and that was 5 years ago when he was with the Chicago White Sox. Something on the field, so Denard Span had to go retrieve it. Tony Watson going to get some work, even though it won't be a save situation. Ground ball and a base hit for David Freese. It's his 2nd hit of the night.
To the pole side.
Both of them. PV faces Starling Marte, who's 2 for 4. Pirates now with a dozen hits. 16-hit attack yesterday in Los Angeles. 10 hits on Saturday. And look at how this club is constructed currently with the new look bullpen, the new rotation. It's looking as though The starters, the relievers, the hitters working in concert together once again. And maybe the Pirates are getting hot at just the right time of year.
The offense certainly is looking pretty good lately. Polanco, a big night tonight. Kutch, we've talked about him. He's getting resurgent.
Josh Harrison, since he's moved to the top of the order, again has been that spark, hitting well over 300, leading off. That is a 4-6-3 double play. Joe Pennick and Brandon Crawford combined.
That's kind of how you have to have a ball hit for get two with Marte. Ball hit well right up toward the middle. So both middle infielders are right next to the bag.
Matt Joyce will pinch hit for Felice.
The Pirates with these 12 hits tonight, they're kind of concentrated too. It took them a while to get going with the base hits. Moore was a little wild, walked some guys first 3 innings, but stingy as far as giving up any hits.
That Joyce shift that we've seen much of this season. Here the home plate umpire Mike Malinsky ask crew chief Mike Winters. You can also hear Jake Peavy, that familiar grunt, when he delivers a pitch. And toward the line and right. Foul.
Almost. This was going to be very close to the chalk. 2 inches. Kind of interesting here for left-hand hitters. If they pull the ball down that line, it's really kind of a cheap home run. But then if they hit it to the gap, it's 421. I mean, you really need a cannonball to get it out there.
Peavy gives up the hit. It's the double play and retires Joyce. Tony Watson looks for 3 outs. of the Giants. You're looking at the two combatants for tomorrow night's game or Tuesday night's game. Jameson Taillon against Jeff Samardzija. And we invite you to stay up late again on Tuesday night. Our coverage begins at 9:30 with Pirates pregame presented by WB Mason on Root Sports. 11th big league start for Taillon. Jeff Samardzija makes his 24th start with the Giants. Not a save situation, but Clint Hurdle badly wants this one. So he's going to his closer now.
Well, you know, have to go out there and keep your fingers crossed. It's a nice quick one, maybe 12 pitches, and could be just fine for the next 2 days. Tomorrow, anyway.
Angel Pagan. Pagan scored the first run of the ball game. He doubled with one out in the first off Ryan Vogelsong. Younger and older fans alike trying to get that baseball. Almost had it.
Yep. Came close. Right one got it though.
Pagan scored on the bases loaded walk to Joe Panik. Giants took a 2-0 lead on a Hunter Pence single off Ryan Vogelsong. But then the Pirates scored 3 in the fourth off Matt Moore. Bases loaded walk to Francisco Cervelli, a 2-run single by Gregory Polanco. 2 more for the Bucks in the sixth on the 2-run homer by Polanco with 2 outs. And a leadoff hit for Pagan.
Probably a little too close to comfort, don't you think, for Tony?
Yeah.
That'll get your attention. Still a opportunity for a low pitch count inning. Only throwing 6.
It's out in front of Brandon Belt, 0-2. 3-hit night for Belt.
Hard to get winners to say yes to one.
Again, the Marlins won. Cardinals were idle, so the Pirates would be a game back of the wild card.
You don't have to ask on that one.
No.
Fastball puts him away.
The Giants would fall to just a half game up on the Dodgers. Dodgers would move within a half game of the first place Giants. As the Dodgers move east, begin a series against the Phillies tomorrow. Broken bat. Jaso looks to second, but wisely just gets the out there. 2 down.
8-4, just getting out. Good decision.
Hunter Pence is the last hope for the Giants. Ryan Vogelsong 1 out away from coming back to San Francisco and picking up the win. Pence aside from that RBI single in the third. Broken bat liner to third his first time. Bounced out to Jung Ho Kang in the fifth, then struck out against Felipe Rivero his last at bat. And now, 1 strike away. The Pirates move to just a game out of that second wild card position. They will have won 7 of their last 10 ball games and would go to 3-1 on this 6-game West Coast road trip. Two and two. Wow. Unusual. Flanked off of Cervelli's mitt. Take a look now at the postseason picture as it stands. Again, the Pirates would be just a game out with 1 more out. Well, not over yet. First and third. And the batter will be Joe Panik. Oh for 3 with the walk. They'll let Pence take second.
Kind of getting into a situation he didn't want to happen now. He's going to have a...
all the pitches?
Yeah, he's going to have probably a 20-some pitch hitting. This number 19 coming. But it's a tough thing to control.
Right side, Harrison, diving stop, can't get a throw off, and a run is in. Base hit for Panik.
He went to make that throw from his backside. It thought he had the baseball, but it was just laying on the ground next to him. Great stop. Even if he comes up, though, especially when you look at that wide shot right there, you could see the panic was well down the line. I don't think he had any chance of an out.
Eduardo Nunez representing the tying run with 2 aboard and 2 outs. Nunez homered in the 6th off of Vogelsong, robbed of extra bases. Remember that play that McCutchen made in the 7th.
A number of defensive plays tonight that are looming large right now.
Would have scored a pair, and McCutchen not come up with that ball. Francisco Cervelli, defensive play. And the throw from Marte. Tagging out Trevor Brown in the 2nd. Bouncing ball, and that'll do it. Raise the Jolly Roger. Stabbed by Jaso. Pirates win again. A game out of the wild card as Andrew McCutchen helps lead the way. Gregory Polanco drives in 4.
And not only was this a good win tonight, obviously getting Vogelsong that W, but I'd say was this one of the more entertaining games we've had to watch. A lot of great defense. This was a fun game to sit back and watch develop tonight. Everybody doing a heck of a job, and Ryan Vogelsong with his reception here in the beginning of this game to come away with a W is very special, I think, for him.
Buccos win it. They come back from an early 2-0 deficit, collect a dozen hits, and beat the Giants in Game 1 of the 3-game series. Let's go back to Pittsburgh and Robin Teague.